Once upon a time, there was a king who presided over a very prosperous nation. Every day, Monday through Friday, from 9 to 5, he held court. And every day, an old monk would come to his court, and he would hand to the king a gorgeous piece of fruit. The king would take the fruit and toss it to his treasurer. What the treasurer did, the king did not concern himself with. One day, the treasurer did not come to court. So when the old monk came and handed the king the piece of fruit, the king took it and tossed it to a little monkey who was to his side. The little monkey bit into the fruit, and lo and behold, a beautiful jewel came rolling out. The king grabbed this jewel and said, "Whoa, I guess I should pay more attention to that monk." When he met his treasurer later that day, he said, "What do you do with all the fruit that old monk brings to court?" And the treasurer says, "Well, I just toss it into the treasury room." And the king told him, "I think you better go look and see what's in the treasury room where you've been dumping that fruit." So that's what he did. He did not find a lot of old fruit. He found a pile of jewels instead. So the treasurer grabbed some jewels, and he came and he handed them to the king. He says, "This is what's there, your majesty." And the king said, "Keep those jewels. Next time that monk comes, we better pay more attention to him." The next day, the monk came and he handed the king another piece of fruit. And the king held up his hand and he said, "No, I won't take it. You want something from me, and I want to know what it is." And the monk said, "Well, your majesty, I do want something from you, and this is what I need. I need on the 14th day of the month to perform a certain religious rite, and I need the help of a man such as yourself, who is noble and has much perseverance. Will you help me, your majesty?" And the king said, "Sure, I'll do it." On the 14th day of the month, in the evening, the king took off all of his finery and dressed plainly. He wrapped himself in a plain blue cloak. He put his sword by his side and a small knife in his sash, and he went to where the monk was waiting. And the monk was waiting for him in the burning grounds where the dead bodies were taken to be cremated. And the king came to this place, and there was the monk waiting for him. And he said, "Your Majesty, thank you for coming." And the king said, "And what is it you need from me?" "Oh, your Majesty, if you will see over there, there is a tree and there is a corpse hanging on that tree. I need you to cut down that corpse and bring him over here to this magic circle that I am making." "Certainly." So the king went to the tree, he took out his knife, and he cut down the corpse. And when the corpse fell to the ground, he moaned. And the king thought, "Oh, he must be still alive. Are you still alive, sir?" And immediately the corpse sprang up and went back to the tree. And the king, being an intelligent man, thought, "I better not talk to this guy. There must be a spirit inside, and if I talk to him, he'll go back to that tree." So the king went back, took out his knife, took the corpse down, laid him gently to the ground, and then took him up and put him on his back. And he was going to walk with him to the magic circle. And the corpse started to talk to him. "Hey, king, I know where you're going with me. You're going over there. Let's pass the time in a pleasant way. I'll tell you a story." And the king didn't say a thing, just listened. "Here's the story, king. Once upon a time, there was a man who had a most beautiful daughter. She was so gorgeous that for miles around, suitors came to ask for her hand in marriage. It boiled down to 3 suitors after a while. She couldn't make up her mind because all the suitors were very wealthy, very appropriate for her. Unfortunately, before she could make up her mind, she died. The suitors were beside themselves, mourning and crying and shredding their clothes. They burned her. One suitor took her bones and did the holy rites in the river. The first suitor built a hut over her ashes and stayed with her. The third suitor became a mendicant and left. One evening he was tired and hungry, and a man said, "Come into my house, and I will feed you and give you a place to sleep." When the mendicant suitor was inside the house, the woman had a baby, but it fussed and cried a lot. So she threw it into the fire and it burned up. And the mendicant suitor was, "Oh, I can't believe this." And the man said, "Don't worry. I will take this book and this holy soil, and you watch what I do." And he read rites over the ashes of the child, and he sprinkled it with this holy dirt. And the child came back to life. The mendicant suitor was very excited about this. In the middle of the night, he stole out of their house, and he took the book and the holy soil with him. And he went back to his hometown, and he was so excited, he told the other 2 suitors, I have it, we're going to bring her back to life. You get that hut off her ashes." And so the first suitor took the hut off the ashes, and the third suitor opened the book, read the incantations, and sprinkled the soil over the woman's ashes, and she came back, and she was so beautiful. And the 3 suitors again began to vie for her favors. "Now, tell me, king," the corpse said, "who should be her husband?" Now, if you know the answer, king, and you refuse to tell me, your head will burst wide open and your brains will spill out over the ground. So the king had no choice. He had to answer the riddle. "Well, it's like this," he said. The third suitor acted the part of her father because he gave her life. The second suitor acted the part of the child because he did the holy rites over her body. It's the first suitor who slept with her even though she was ashes. That is the husband. Ah! And the corpse went back and hung himself on the tree again. The king went back, cut him down, and put him over his shoulders and started to walk towards the monk across the burning ground again. And 22 times the corpse told him stories, and 22 times the king answered, and 22 times he went back to the tree, and then the 23rd and 24th time, the king didn't know the answer to the riddle. And the corpse said, "I got you. But you know, king, I like you. Now I'm going to tell you what's really going on here tonight. That monk, he's up to no good. He wants to take over the entire spirit world. He's evil. And I'm going to tell you now how to defeat him. He's going to set this body that I'm inhabiting, he's going to set it up, and he's going to ask you to worship it. And you'll agree to do that. Except you're going to ask him to show you how to worship me. And when he does, you cut off his head." And the king thought about this. Was the monk right, or was the corpse right? Obviously, he'd been building a relationship with this corpse. So he believed him. Good thing. Because when he walked with this corpse into this magic circle that this monk had created, it was an awful place. He had torches burning from skin fat and big jugs of human blood all around. So the monk set up the corpse, put flowers across him, and said, "King, your majesty, you have to worship him." Ah, yes, yes, I have to worship him. Show me how it should be done. Ah, yes, the monk said. And he bowed down to the corpse, and the king took a sword and off came his head. And across the entire burning ground, all the spirits gave a huge sigh of relief, because the monk was evil. And the heavens opened, and a god came down, and he said to the king, "You have done a good thing. I'm going to increase your kingdom, for you're a noble man of great perseverance. And when you die, you shall come up and be with me."